Anthony Joshua needs to sack his trainer and get rid of those yes men hanger-on guys that are literally just staying around him for the paycheck. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Remstar Says So. So there's been a lot of speculation recently as to whether AJ would sack Rob Mcraken and bring in a new trainer. It looks like he's going to stick with Rob Mcraken. He says that Rob Mcraken hasn't done anything wrong, and it was him who made the mistakes against Ruiz in the fight. AJ reminds us that it was Rob Mcraken who helped him win a silver medal at the World Championship and a gold medal at the Olympics, and took him all the way to being a free belt unified heavyweight champion. Yes, a lot of that is true, but when you really think about it, AJ took a fairly easy route. Let's break it down and let's go all the way back to his championship reign. I think it was sometime around November 2015. He knocks out Dillian Whyte for the British title on pay-per-view, let me add that. Then I think it was April 2016. He fights Charles Martin for the IBF championship. Charles Martin had just won a vacant belt against a guy who had blown out his knee in the fight. And Charles Martin literally came to sell his belt for £5 million. What on earth Charles Martin was doing in that fight? He wasn't knocked out. He was sitting down. He was looking left and right. He was smiling. He was laughing. Charles Martin had no intention of fighting. He sold the belt to the highest bidder, and that was AJ in Matchroom. Let's fast forward a year down the line. He fights Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley for the vacant WBA, the vacant IBO, and for his IBF title. Vladimir Klitschko, 41 years old, coming off the most humiliating loss he's ever seen, where he got absolutely schooled by Tyson Fury from start to end, where he didn't have a chance in hell of beating him, and Tyson Fury just danced around him and made him look like an absolute fucking Toby. There you see, AJ's now picked up 2 championships. One fighting against a man who was in his 40s, who was coming off of a loss and hadn't thrown a competitive glove in 19 months. And the other one was fighting against a man who just wanted to cash out and sell his belt. Charles Martin knew for a fact that he probably wouldn't stay champion for a while, for a long time, because he's a very shit boxer. And up until his opponent, who I think was Glaskov at the time, I think Glaskov might have been winning that fight, and then when he blew out his knee, Martin sort of took over. But Charles Martin knew that he was never going to be a long-standing world champion, not with the shitty talents that he had. So he decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to cash this one in. And he ended up coming over here to the UK and selling his belt for $5 million, or pounds, whatever they paid him. AJ's first real fight was against Joseph Parker for the WBO unification with his IBF and WBA strap. This was the first time he actually fought a man who was in his prime, who was ready to rock it out, and look at what happened. The referee absolutely helped AJ all the way in this fight. Every time Joseph Parker got on the inside and started doing him some damage, the referee was quickly getting in there to pull them apart. Now, anybody who knows anything about boxing will understand that if you're the shorter man with the shorter reach, the only way you can hit your opponent is fighting on the inside. If you're the taller man with the longer reach, you can fight at distance and you can stay behind the jab. Joseph Parker didn't have the luxury of staying behind the jab, simply because his arms are shorter and he's shorter. So he has to come inside and he has to trade. Every time Joseph Parker looked like he was doing something, the referee was like, whoa, we can't afford for AJ to take a loss right now. And he pulled him aside. And Joseph Parker lost his WBO championship. A year down the line, he gets in the ring with Andy Ruiz, this time in USA, where he's got less favoritism and he's got less protection against the referees. He knocks Ruiz down in a flash knockdown, but Andy Ruiz got up straight away, clearly showing everybody that AJ's power wasn't as great as what some people might have thought it was. Andy Ruiz knocks AJ down in the same round twice, and then knocks him down twice in the 7th, with the referee stopping the fight, with AJ sort of sprawled out across the turnbuckles. Now, if you ask me, the writing has been on the wall with AJ for some time now. I'll give you a perfect example. Look back at his last fight against Povetkin. Povetkin came out the traps and boom, in the first round he broke AJ's nose. All over him for the first 5 rounds. AJ took over in round 6 when Povetkin gassed and sort of ran out of energy in the tank and took him out in the 7th round. As I said, the writing was on the wall. What Povetkin managed to do to AJ is probably what Joseph Parker might have been able to do if the referee wasn't such a pig and stopping Parker from fighting and doing what he came to do. Andy Ruiz now, everybody sort of overlooks him, the fat guy, the kebab man, as I've sort of labelled him. But Andy Ruiz's tank was fine. Andy Ruiz was playing possum. He let AJ think that he was hurting him, and every time AJ came in to try and pounce, Ruiz would clock him with fast hands, good head movement, and good foot movement. To me, AJ's been doing the exact same sort of boxing his entire career. He comes forwards, he comes backwards. He doesn't really have any foot movement. His head movement is non-existent, and he has no guard whatsoever. If you look at AJ's favourite kind of fighters, he likes fighting people that come forwards. The likes of a Dillian Whyte, the likes of a Carlos Takam, the likes of Dillian Whyte, Carlos Takam, and maybe Dominic Brazil. People that don't really cause any threat, and it just becomes a gunfight. All of those fights, AJ's managed to get people out because there's no real tactics. But when he fought slick operators like your Parkers, your Povetkins, he's really struggled there. Joseph Parker was all over him. And after watching what happened to Ruiz, I don't know what would have happened if Parker was given a fair fight, because Joseph Parker was bobbing and weaving and coming inside. And I'm not saying that Parker would have knocked him out, because Parker's not known for knockouts, but this is the heavyweight division and anything can happen. Never did I ever think that Andrew Ruiz was going to knock AJ down 4 times. And then you've got stupid guys like Rob Mcraken. AJ's coming back to the turnbuckle after every round. He's like, why do I feel like this? Why am I feeling like this? Which punch did I hit him with? And Rob McCracken's just giving him bullshit answers like, oh, it was the hook, it was the this, it was the that. Rob McCraken is the Team GB boxing coach. He's an amateur level boxing coach. Yes, he did take Carl Froch to the heights. But realistically, when you think about Carl Froch, we're thinking about a man who got his ass handed to him by Andre Ward. Carl Froch's biggest highlight is beating George Groves twice. And as we've already seen, George Groves wasn't shit. George Groves, it took him, 4 or 5 times to win a world championship? And when he finally became a world champion, it was for a vacant WBA title. It's not like he dethroned the champion. Yes, he beat Chris Eubank in the Super Series. But at the same time, Chris Eubank, once again, as much as I like Chris Eubank, a lot of people think that he's a hype man as well. When George Groves ran into a real champion, a real king, he got his ass handed to him by Mundo Callum Smith. And the fact is, once again, what was Rob McCraken doing? Rob McCraken is just not that guy. He couldn't help Carl Froch against Andre Ward, and he couldn't help Anthony Joshua against Andy Ruiz. What AJ needs is he needs a trainer that's going to help him work on some foot movement, work on some head movement, bobbing and weaving, working the channels, coming in, coming out, doing something a bit smart. With AJ, you know what's going to happen. The double jab, the right hand, the double jab, the hook, the double jab, the uppercut. Like with AJ, you're literally just televising like everything that's coming. It's like 1, 2, 3, bam, 1, 2, 3, bam. Like Andy Ruiz, he was just reading into it. You can read AJ like a textbook. And the fact is, those big bulky muscles are not serving him. If I was AJ's trainer, I would say to him, look, you need to come back down. I think for AJ, his best physique was when he fought Dillian Whyte in 2015. I don't know why he's decided to bulk up like John Cena and The Rock. He needs to understand this is professional boxing. If you look at any of AJ's fights, if it goes into the second half of the fight, from round 7 onwards, he looks like he's gasping for air. He looks like he's going to have a heart attack in every single fight, because those big bulky muscles are not serving him. They're a hindrance. Getting oxygen to those big muscles is not doing anything for him, and it's slowing him down as well. Let's say, for example, if AJ had the physique that he had when he fought Dillian Whyte, I don't think Ruiz would have been able to outmaneuver him. But Andy Ruiz's fast hands and good head movement managed to get him in and out of trouble. And, he managed to get the win. As I said, if I was AJ, I'd get rid of all of those yes men like Leon Skinner and all these other guys that he's grown up with. All these yes men that are just, they're not really doing anything for him. These are guys that he grew up with in Watford and Finchley of North London that, they might be his day one boys. And he or probably always promised them that if he made it, he would stick them on the payroll so they could live a good life. But these guys are yes men. They don't know fuck all about boxing. These guys are literally probably getting paid 50 to 100 grand each just to be around AJ and be his little cheerleaders and let him think that he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's taken an L in his 23rd fight. And can he bounce back and get these titles back? I don't know. Like, realistically, I don't know if he's going to beat Andy Ruiz. From what I do know is that AJ's jaw is broken and he's got a concussion. And that's why, what is it, three weeks since he got knocked out? Or is it 4 weeks? He's still in the USA because he's not medically cleared to fly back to the UK. Eddie Hearn's talking about doing the rematch in November. I think he's got too many things that he needs to sort out. Now, if you think about it, he's still got a concussion. He needs to work on his defense. He needs to bring in some foot movement. He needs to bring in some head movement. There's so many things going on that AJ needs to sort of clear out. And I just don't think in the next 5 to 6 months, he's going to be able to get it all done. Also, what people need to understand is Andy Ruiz is going to come in better. Let's not forget, Andy Ruiz took this fight with 5 weeks' notice. AJ had his full 12 to 14 weeks camp. Andy Ruiz had 5. So if you think AJ is going to come back better, you best believe that Andy Ruiz is going to come in a little bit better and a little bit sharper. But I don't know. That's my rant over. That's me personally. Do you agree with me? Do you think that AJ needs to get rid of Leon Skinner and all these little hang-on guys and all these yes men? Is it time to get rid of Rob Mcraken? Does he need to go and get himself an advisor as well? Because, Eddie Hearn seems to be his only mouthpiece. AJ has no charisma at all. If you've been a fan of this channel, you'll know what my thoughts are. The guy has about as much charisma as a packet of ready salted crisps, and maybe that's what his issue is. He hasn't got anybody really with his best interests at heart. If you looked at that fight, there's been a lot of rumours, people saying that he had a concussion, people saying he got knocked out in sparring, people saying that he had a panic attack. Eddie Hearn only cares about the peas. He cared about running it on pay-per-view and getting his money from the zone and charging AJ that 20% or whatever the fuck it is he charges. Eddie Hearn doesn't care about AJ. And if AJ takes another loss, don't be surprised if he drops him like a bad habit. Eddie Hearn just likes the fact that he can charge pay-per-view for AJ and make money off of him. But if AJ takes another loss, that could be the end of it. That could really be the end of it. But anyway, guys, this is my rant over. Leave a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, share this video. Let me know your thoughts. That's the end of the show because Remstar says so.